the Chairman and HOD of Surgical Oncology, Manipal Hospitals, Bangalore, and Dr. Paul Augustine, Head of the Division of Surgical Oncology, RCC, Trivandrum, and Dr. D.K. Vijay Kumar, Head of the Department of Surgical Oncology, Amrita, Kochi. Today's case will be presented by our final year PG, Dr. Chaitanya. I request Dr. Chaitanya to start the presentation.
Thank you, madam. Respected teachers and my friends, I am going to present a case of 53-year-old female, Mrs. Saraswati. She is a homemaker and descent of Tirunantapur. She presented to OPD with complaint of lump in right breast for past 9 months. Patient was apparently normal till 9 months back when she noticed a lump in right breast which was gradually increased in size, involving majority of the breast. There are no other complaints of any nipple or skin changes over the right breast and no complaints of swelling of the arm. There is no complaints of swelling in opposite breast or both axilla. There is no complaints of backache, chest pain, breathlessness and exertion or abdominal mass or headache. There is no past history of any biopsies or surgeries over the breast, and there is no history of any malignancy in the past.
See, Chaitanya, you started with a statement, no? Something like what is important is to start with a good way, a pleasant lady, and never use the term, aged, old, 35-year-old.
Okay.
Because in oncology, what is the definition of old? As per the ASCO definition, what do you call as old? What does the WHO and ASCO criteria calling old means?
More than 70 years.
It is more than 70 to 72. Because WHO and ASCO says that the guidelines for, when you say elderly, it is not 60, 65, it is 70 to 72. So in breast cancer, the guideline change in ASCO, NCCN, and also WHO once they are 70 to 72 year old. Okay. So it's better always, rather than committing on a old or anything, you just say pleasant lady, aged about.
Okay.
Yes.
You want to read that, sir?
Yeah, we are not little bit audible. Not able to hear you. Come close to.
You want to read that from the beginning, sir?
Yeah, no problem. So start with history you're telling us.
Okay. Coming to family history, there is no family history of any breast or ovarian malignancy.
No, Johnny, can you just go a slide before, please?
Yes, sir. This one, sir.
Yeah.
There is no past history of any biopsies or surgeries over the breast. There is no history of any malignancy in the past.
Okay. So see, you're told that it is a painless. So if there is a pain in the lump, what is that comes to your mind?
Pain, it may be due to inflammatory conditions like breast abscess, mastitis, or maybe a ductectasia or a papilloma.
Okay. So you leave the papilloma will not have pain. See, leave the acute conditions.
Okay, sir.
Something which is mimicking your condition, but there is an appearance. Because is cancer painful or painless in the breast lump?
Painless, sir.
So why cancer lump is painless?
There is no innervation.
Pardon? See, in solid tumor surface in breast, it is painless, right? Why is it painless? Pain appearance in a malignancy is only advanced, right?
Yes, sir.
So why is it painless?
It is slow growing and it accommodates.
No, what I mean to say, so you mean to say because it is slow growing, it is this one? Which malignancy in the breast is fast growing?
Inflammatory breast carcinoma.
So it is still not painful there, right? Patient has morbid, inflammatory looking, but it is still not painful. So what would be the reason? So if there is a pain in a lump, which has a chronic,
Infiltration of the nerve roots or anything.
okay, then does inflammatory breast cancer has pain?
Yeah, sometimes it is associated with pain and tenderness also.
Yeah, I'll give you a hint. Even if you have LABC, it infiltrates the skin, there is an ulceration already and a wound. You can see that fungating mass. Patient has painless. It's so very comfortable, right?
Yes, sir.
So patients come with big fungating, ulcerated, mass in inflammatory LABCs, but still it is painless. So if there is a lump for chronic condition like this, What does a pain which was not there, appearance of pain suggest in this? We'll leave acute conditions, mastitis, all that, you leave it out, breast abscess. In a chronic breast lump, which could be malignant, appearance of pain, what are the conditions where pain would appear? And what is its relevance? One would be if there is an intervention done, like core biopsy or anything, pain would be there, right? Then secondary infection, superadded secondary infection in a existing lump and a fungating mass could cause pain.
Yes, sir.
Fixity to the chest wall bone, periosteum could cause the pain.
Infiltration can cause. Yes.
Okay. Does tuberculosis breast is pain? It has a hard mass, skin involvement, PDRN like appearance, big, hard nodes, fixed lump, intraparenchymal fixity, mimics LABC, but does it have pain, tuberculosis?
Tuberculosis is painless.
Mild pain compared to malignancies. Okay, so appearance of pain in this, you need to keep this in mind.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
There is no family history of any breast or ovarian malignancies. There is no history of any other malignancy in the family. Coming to menstrual and
Why
marriage.
did you ask this question and what is the relevance to your case?
Sir,
You are right. You asked this. No family history of breast cancer, ovary, no history of other malignancy. What is the relevance in this case and what is that you have in mind?
breast cancer runs in families also. Sir. About 5 to 10% of breast cancers associated with hereditary conditions.
Okay, what is the difference between hereditary and familial?
Sir,
You understand there are two important issues in oncology.
yes,
Hereditary and familial, right? What is the difference between these two? And can you name condition pertinent to breast cancer which are familial, which are hereditary?
sir, BRCA1 and 2 are hereditary cancers. Sir.
Huh.
And,
So what do you mean by familial? What is the difference between both?
hereditary, there is a definite gene identified and it has a definite pattern of inheritance.
Mhm. Okay. So what are the other conditions other than BRCA1, BRCA2?
And
See, in a given family, there is no gene. They're all exposed to same environmental mutation factors.
yes,
They all develop breast cancer. Mother has a breast cancer. Now daughter has breast cancer. No history of ovary cancer, endometrium, thyroid, any other. It would fit into familial or hereditary.
it more fits into familial. Sir.
What are the other hereditary breast cancer syndrome you know of other than BRCA1, BRCA and BRCA1, BRCA2?
Cowden.
Yes, go ahead.
Lee Pramani, sir.
You know the components of both? You know the components of Cowden and Lee-Framini?
Cowden, breast carcinoma, uterine carcinomas, thyroid carcinomas, and
Okay. So which gene is BRCA1 and BRCA2?
they're tumor suppressor genes.
Okay. On which chromosome does this sit?
17.
Is normal lady with or without breast cancer has BRCA1, BRCA2?
Yes, sir. They have.
So what is important? It is mutated or not mutated or wild?
Mutant or wild. That is.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
Coming to menstrual history.
Professor Paul, you want to ask anything at this point?
No, it's okay. It's okay. Please.
Please intervene. Even Vijay just intervene.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so that we can break the monotonous and they can.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
So,
Please go ahead.
Menstrual and marital history. My patient attained menarche at the age of 14 years and she had regular 30-day cycles during her menstrual history, and she was married at the age of 22 years and she has 2 children and the first child birth at 24 years of age. She breastfed both children 1 year each, amounting to around 24 months.
What is the relevance of all this in this case? Why are you asking all this?
Yes, sir. If patient attained menarche at the age less than 12 years, it's a risk factor for.
I will put it this way. We'll not go to theory. In this patient,
Yes.
all these things you asked, are they any risk factor for breast cancer? Is there early menarche? No. Is there dead menopause in this patient? No. Is patient nulliparous? No. Has she not breastfed for at least 1 year? She has. So none of them are risk factor. And did she have first child after 30 years?
No, sir.
No. So then why are you asking? Any of this are enlisted risk factor for a patient in this
No.
patient? So
Hmm.
then why did you ask all this? What is its relevance then in this patient? You just ask because the examiners will fail you if you don't ask this. That's why, or do you think still this needs to be asked? You understood my question?
I understood, sir.
There is no early menarche in this lady.
Hmm.
There is no late menopause. She is not nulliparous. She is not that having one child. It is not that she has not breastfed. She has not taken hormone replacement HRT, right?
Yes, sir.
Still you asked all these things. So does it contribute in anything in this patient in this? As an oncologist student, in this patient, these things which you covered, do they have any relevance? Yes, no?
They are not suggestive of any increased risk for any breast malignancy.
Okay, no, I understood. But now this data you have collected has any significance? It's just a waste. You think you wasted time, or there is some use of this?
Try to elicit history to find any risk factors present or not. But it is
All these data are important as an oncologist student to enumerate, to compare the studies, share the knowledge, and look what were the risk factor, who got malignancy, right? For all study purposes, for comparison later, you have to compile all these things. Okay, in this patient, it may not be relevant, but these factors put together when you compare and document, they have a relevance in a data entry later. Okay, so none of this has this. So what is the bottom line of all this essence? Why is it though that if somebody has early menarche, late menopause, and less children, not breastfed, how are all of them eventually going to predispose to cancer?
exposure of hormonal exposure.
Which hormone? Testosterone, androgen, estrogen, progesterone, estrogen.
Unopposed estrogen exposure.
Okay, which is more dangerous? Unopposed estrogen or progesterone? Which is dangerous? Which hormone causes endometrial cancer? Which causes breast cancer?
Estrogen only.
Estrogen. Okay. Do you know how do you classify estrogen? What is SEMS? SEMS is not self-expandable metallic stent. There is another group called as SEMS relevant to breast cancer, right? I will give you, because these points what you told, estrogen and estrogen, very important. What is SEMS? Shall I give you and what is P2 NSABP trial called? P2 NSABP trial is what? No problem. NSABP P2 trial is a chemoprophylaxis trial by putting selective estrogen receptor modulators, which is raloxifene. So SEMS is selective estrogen receptor modulator, type 1, type 2, type 3. Tamoxifen is what type of SEMS? SEMS 1, 2 or 3? You read about it, okay? Seminars of surgical oncology gives, you must read this. Raloxifene is which one? So under this, it's very well explained what are the types of estrogen. What is estrone? See, like when you say a lady is postmenopausal, the foolproof technique is measuring blood values, right?
Yes.
You measure FLH, FSH, estrone, estradiol. So you must know what is important, what is the normal value of all of them, okay? I'm not going to tell for all the student what is that you measure as per WHO criteria when you are unsure of amenorrhea within last 1 year, or patient want to be put on AA, what you do, okay? Then you will get an answer which estrogen is dangerous and what is SEMS 1, 2, 3, okay? Okay, we'll go to next.
Menopausal level of estradiol is less than 30 picograms.
Good, very good. So the unit is picogram. Good, very nice, excellent. Okay, next. Proceed with the case.
Personal history, there is no habits. Bowel bladder habits are normal.
Okay, I will not go to this general.
Okay.
Which personal history, if present, would be relevant in a breast cancer? I'm not worried about colon cancer, thyroid cancer, gastric. In breast cancer, which personal history are relevant as per the evidence based?
Alcohol.
Huh? Okay, then?
Smoking is mixed. Smoking history, mixed evidence is there.
Okay. What is PLCO study? What is PLCO study? Devita Volume 1. Cancer screening prevention. There are only 2 trials he has discussed over 2 pages. What is PLCO trial? See, we tell all the patient eat less, reduce weight, take more fiber diet, eat more vitamin C. Is it proved by level 1 evidence in any cancers? The
No.
only 2 cancer where it is proved. There are 2 trials for that, randomized control trial. Can you name that? One is in prostate, one is in breast. I'll give you a hint. And what were the 4 components of the trial which has relevance to personal history in this patient? Okay, what do you think is the BMI of this patient?
31, sir. 31.
What do you mean by obese? What BMI is obesity in a breast cancer or in general?
Greater than 25 is obese, sir. 18 to 22.
Why not? Why obesity and fat has a relevance to breast cancer? This lady is premenopausal or postmenopausal?
Postmenopausal.
Good. So postmenopausal, there is no ovaries, no estrogen and progesterone from the ovaries. Pituitary hypothalamus ovarian axis is knocked off. So where does she get these hormones then?
Conversion.
Pardon?
Peripheral fat conversion.
Very good. Number 1. Then number 2. Something which is above the kidney.
Adrenal.
Good. So which enzyme converts with the peripheral fat to the estrogen? Do you know the name of the enzyme?
Aromatase.
Come on, I didn't hear. It is aryl sulfatase. Okay? Good. Okay. So any personal history contributing in this patient relevant?
No, sir.
No. Okay. We'll go to next then.
Okay. She was evaluated with contralateral breast mammogram, CT scan, bone scan, and biopsy of the lump.
How do you know all this?
I asked her, sir.
So she told that I had a CT scan and a mammogram, bone scan and biopsy. She told like this, or she told I went through a battery of tests and a biopsy. She told she was so intelligent she could enlist that bone scan, memo. Means
I have asked.
very intelligent. I'm curious to know. Patient told like that, or she just told I underwent lot of investigation like X-ray scans and a biopsy. Normally patient tell like that unless somebody is very intelligent, right? So patient told in her own word these things.
I asked her, sir, whether she had underwent any X-ray with compression of the breast.
So you asked a leading question to arrive at these things.
Yes, sir.
The patient could tell all this. Good. Okay. Next.
With the report, she was explained about the nature of the disease and treatment plan. She was explained about the treatment plan like he has to undergo chemotherapy first, followed by radiation therapy. If needed, any adjuvant treatment after.
All those terms you want to use in the history, adjuvant, neoadjuvant, you think patient knows all these things?
No, I'm
You're
telling
already discussing treatment even before you examine the patient, right? It's extremely risky. If I'm an examiner along with Paul Augustine PJ, I would be sure you opened the file and read on the backside, or your 1 year junior has given you case to your hostel one day before. Right? It's too much to expect from a highest intelligent patient, right? Even if you know all these things, there is a little better way of putting this. You're already discussing. Vijay, anything on add?
I think this patient is after chemotherapy. You're examining her after chemotherapy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that's why she has hair loss, everything. So you are sure that she's had chemotherapy and she's come with that. Okay.
Okay, fine. So cardiac evaluation, why? Is patient hypertensive, diabetic, immuno, IHD?
no, sir. No other comorbidities.
Then
Patient.
why cardiac evaluation?
For chemo purpose, they might have done.
Okay, which chemo has cardiac?
Sir, adriamycin and trastuzumab will have cardiac toxicity.
So what are the ways to evaluate? What are the modalities used to evaluate a patient on trastuzumab and cardiac?
Here they evaluate with 2D echo. Sir. 2D echo.
Is that the only way?
Muga scan. Something.
Okay. You know expansion of MUGA, right?
No, sir.
You don't know. Okay, next time you ask because you told Muga and it's going to come there. Okay? Okay, we'll go to next.
She received total 8 cycles of chemotherapy, each at 2 weeks interval. During first 4 cycles, she received 2 IV infusions, and during the next 4 cycles, she received 1 IV infusion. After every cycle of post-chemo day 3, she used to receive 1 injection. Patient felt the size of lump decrease gradually after the second cycle.
Okay.
This completes my history, sir.
Okay, yes.
Was there any attempt at marking the lump? Do you know of any way that she was Some tattooing was done or some this thing was done? No?
No, sir. I didn't ask her.
I mean, did you ask the patient before starting chemo she had any clip placed, tattooing placed, wire placed, anything like that? You asked and she denied, or you didn't ask and she didn't tell?
I asked whether any marking, anything is done.
Okay.
She explained after investigations, only biopsy has been done, nothing else been done.
So there is no history.
No, sir.
Okay.
Okay, next.
And to proceed to examination, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Patient performance status was
Okay. In general examination, what are the relevant findings attributable to this patient?
okay. BMI of the patient, sir,
Okay, good. Then,
and the history of alopecia and nail changes.
okay, so that would guide you that patient has taken. Which chemo has more nail change than alopecia? Which chemo in breast has more alopecia than nail change? Which chemo you think would have caused this nail change?
Cyclophosphamide will have more of nail changes, sir.
5-fluorouracil discoloration of the nails? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So which has more alopecia?
Adriamycin will have more hair loss.
Okay. A patient of breast cancer says, I don't want alopecia. Which chemo is the one which doesn't cause alopecia and can be used? You have medical oncology rotation, right?
Yeah. Final year will have.
Are you aware which chemo patient says, no, I am a model and I cannot have alopecia? So if she says, what chemo comes to your mind? Adriamycin causes. Which variant of adriamycin doesn't cause alopecia? Okay, read about it. Now, what is the performance status of this patient?
One, sir.
Okay.
He's doing all regular activities and all.
Can you name some scales used to measure the performance status other than WHO ECOG?
Karnofsky scales.
Okay. What should be the minimum score in Karnofsky's to do a curative major surgery? What is the score? See, WHO 0 is totally normal. 1 is because she has taken chemo, she has little bit dropped down, right? So in Karnofsky's, what is the minimum score patient to be deemed fit for a curative surgeries?
70, sir.
70 or 80?
Not sure, sir. Around 70, 80.
Good, you are right. Huh? Attempt to confuse you by examiner, stand by it. Okay, it doesn't matter. Nobody is perfect. That shows that you are not. Can you name a scoring system which is used in pediatric oncology cases? There are adult, right? ECOG, WHO. If you analyze Karnofsky's, they are not relevant for a child pediatric onco. So can you name a scale which is preferable for performance status in a pediatric oncology cases?
No.
You have Bethesda Clinical Manual of Oncology. Last chapter, beautiful it is written. Please go back. What is Lenowski's score? Read about it, okay? Lenowski's is used more in pediatrics. There are 7 types of scoring system for this. 3, if you know, is more than enough. Okay? Age is not important. Performance status is important. So in this patient, these are the relevant thing. Any other relevant in general? That's it, right?
That's it.
Okay, next.
On local examination.
Okay. Before we go to local, for the benefit of all students, can you summarize your history general examination relevant to this patient in nutshell? Then we will go to examination.
Only general examination, sir.
Up till now, history and general examination, salient points I want you to summarize
Okay.
relevant to this patient.
She's a pleasant lady, about 53 years. She presented to OPD 9 months back with a lump in right breast, which is she noticed, and then after that it was gradually increasing, and at the time of presentation it was occupying almost the entire breast. After that she underwent a battery of investigations and a biopsy, and after that she was explained to go through a treatment plan of chemotherapy followed by surgery, and then she completed chemotherapy, and now She completed chemotherapy.
Very not at all good summary. Chaitanya, you are next year going to go to exam. Is that a good summary? What did you miss in this? What did you miss? What is the most important thing in a patient in the breast cancer? Tell me. Did you say menopausal state in your history now? Postmenopausal, premenopausal? No. And did you let us know the response? Did you say, see, there are positive findings, highlight them. Okay. A postmenopausal lady of so-so, painless, not prolonged, right? Onset of painless lump, who underwent investigation, who underwent chemotherapy, in her ward with a response, who has features of all chemo-related toxicity in the form of alopecia, nail chain discoloration. A summary should be a beautiful running commentary, right? So again, you told sort of history in miniature. You didn't give a summary. See, remember, when you go in exam, just before going, make a summary of history, general and clinical in mind. It will come. I know that you have all the information, but you are not able to comprehend that, okay? Please comprehend. Menopausal state you missed. You failed to let us know that lady on examination has features of acute toxicity of chemotherapy like alopecia in my patient, natal nail discoloration, and performance rate has dropped down. So you didn't summarize it, okay? Summarize it well next time. Okay, we'll go to local examination.
Patient was examined after informed consent in sitting, supine, and bending forward positions after appropriate exposure. Both breasts are symmetrical.
That's it. That's it in breast cancer. So sitting, supine, bending is all that you say? Okay, now I will go back to this. Sitting position, what is its important? Why in sitting position? What do you see more in supine? What do you do more in bending? And what else you missed in these first two lines? Most important things. Okay, sitting, what is that you want to look? Tell me. What is that in your mind in sitting?
Symmetry of both breasts.
Okay, number one. Then?
Of the nipple areola complex. Position of the nipple areola complex.
Okay.
To each other.
Then?
And,
what is that is seen in sitting position, not seen in supine and distorted in bending?
In bending forward, sir.
No. In sitting position, what is that most relevantly seen, which is not seen in supine and it is lost when patient bends? Inframammary fold is not important?
Yes, sir.
Ptosis is not important?
It is
How do you classify ptosis of breast as per Krishna class oncoplastic classification? As an oncologist student, breast oncoplastic student, classify ptosis of the breast. That is highly relevant for you when you do breast conservation. Sitting position, most important in addition to the gross visibility, inframammary fold, nipple areola complex, which you told in relevance and length, but ptosis. So, what do you know? How do you classify ptosis? Grade 1, grade 2, grade 3?
Nipple position.
Aware, not aware?
I try, sir.
Okay, good. Please go ahead.
Nipple position at the level of inframammary crease. It's level 1.
2 points used to measure ptosis, right? One is inframammary fold. I'm very happy. Very good. What is the other thing?
Drooping below the fold.
No. What I mean to say is, see, one line is inframammary fold, right? If you lift, that is fixed. So what is the other point in relation to that used to grade the ptosis? One point, you are right. Inframammary fold. You draw that line. It is there, fixed. It is not going to move. What is the other thing which keeps moving in relation to inframammary fold, which classifies the ptosis?
Lower border of the droop breast.
Breast. What is lower border of breast called? Is there anything called lower border of breast? When you say lower border of the breast, what is it? What are the components of the breast? Please tell me. What are the quadrants? What are the components of the breast? Upper, outer quadrant, 4 quadrants, central quadrant, axillary tail, central quadrant. Okay. What classifies all this into the quadrants in the breast?
There is a horizontal line and vertical line going through the nipple.
What is the horizontal line?
Going through the nipple.
So nipple areola complex relation to inframammary fold would classify ptosis. You agree? Okay. So is it important in breast cancer surgery? Level of ptosis?
Oncoplasty is important.
So if there is a grade 3 ptosis, entire nipple area complex is below the inframammary fold. It would be in the almost in the abdomen level. What oncoplasty procedure as a part of breast conservation would you recommend in a C cup bulky breast?
Inferior pedicle mammoplasty with
Wise pattern reduction mammoplasty. So it is important, right? So supine, this is what you look in sitting position. Supine, what is that you have in mind?
inframammary fold will be seen better in supine or recumbent position.
Bending forward,
Moving forward to examine the fixity to the pectoralis and chest wall.
Okay. Then anything else you would do? That's all you would do?
Arms raised above.
So arms beside, arms abducted, arms hyperabducted. So have you written there?
No.
So remember in exam you write this much. So then I will know sitting, supine, bending, arms raised, arm beside, right? Okay, good. So now go to inspection.
On inspection of right breast, both breast and nipple areola complex are at the same level.
You told me right breast, then where did both breasts come? You only told right. You could have just told both breasts. So you told right, then both came. So you inspected both breasts first, right? So is there any significant finding in your inspection?
No, sir. Inspection I have breast PUDRN in erythema noted in the lower and inner quadrant. There is no other scars, ulceration.
Is there visible asymmetry?
No, sir. No visible asymmetry.
Visible thickening of the skin? Retraction of the nipple areola complex? Nothing found.
Only PUDRN and erythema, minimal erythema.
Go to next. Yeah. Continue. Can you put the clinical photo of this patient? Yeah. Now you read. Yes. Now. Yes.
Chaitanya, on inspection, you had said something about some biopsy. Can you see anything about that in the inspection?
He specifically noted the scar, sir.
Some biopsy.
Sir,
So what would have been done?
look at has been done.
What
Might be
biopsy do you think would have been done? Do you see any scars or anything? Core cut biopsy has been done. What is scar? Core cut biopsy has been done, is what you think.
yes, sir.
Are not seen.
Can you hear me?
Not appreciable, sir. No, not obvious.
But did you look for it?
Yes.
Patients never forget a sore on the breast. You just ask them, where was the needle poke? Tuck, finger goes there. Did you ask that? Then you can search. Patient will show you. Did you ask this? Where did the doctor poke you the needle for biopsy? And all this will be do. Is it important?
Yes, sir. If
Why
there
is it important?
is response to know the initial tumor site.
No, that you are going to examine
That will come to. The important thing is, you know that there is a history of biopsy. You should ask and try to find it if possible.
I just asked to point out where the biopsy has been taken.
Okay. You didn't see any scar. Okay.
I didn't see.
Okay. And don't use the term true cut, okay? True cut is a trademark. Use core biopsy.
Yeah.
Everywhere in oncology. Yeah.
Okay. On palpation, there is a 1 into 1 centimeter hard lump, which is
Can you go back to inspection? Go back to that photo.
yes, sir.
So you told PD orange, okay? So what is the pathogenesis of nipple retraction?
Nipple retraction, ductal infiltration of the tumor.
Infiltration into the lactiferous ducts. What is the pathogenesis of skin puckering?
Cooper ligament infiltration results in puckering.
What is the pathogenesis of PD orange?
Dermal lymphatic infiltration by the tumor emboli results in PUDRN.
So how do you distinguish between an edema because of inflammatory breast cancer and PD orange because of locally advanced breast cancer?
In inflammatory breast cancer, at least 30% of the breast has been involved with erythema and edema. And
That's all. That's the only criteria. Looking at this, is it inflammatory or is it a locally advanced breast cancer with dermal lymphatic involvement? So you have put your answer. Or is it inflammatory?
It seems more like a locally advanced breast cancer rather than inflammatory breast cancer.
Okay.
And
So what are the absolute components of inflammatory breast cancer?
history, less than 6 month history,
Hmm.
greater than 30% of the breast involvement.
More than 30% no. Is it?
Yes, sir. 1/3. And most of,
1/3 or more of the skin should be involved. Hello.
yes, sir. 1/3 more of the skin.
You know what is international expert panel statements of IBC, which was adopted by AJCC? Are you aware of this? Are you aware of the definition of inflammatory breast cancer as recommended by International Expert Panel on Inflammatory Breast Cancer?
It is a clinico-pathological entity.
Good, very good.
On clinical examination, more than 30% of the breast should be.
There are 5 criterias. You know, international consensus recommendation of IBC, which happened on 2011, which was published in Annals of Oncology and adopted by AJCC, states following factors. Number 1, more of erysipeloid erythematous patch than a PD orange. Erysipeloid rash, at least occupying 1/3, number 1. Then duration. See, in India, patient have breast cancer. They ignore. They are like luminal A ER positive. After 1 year, it involves, dermal lymphatics and come. So skin edema in a neglected breast cancer becoming locally advanced versus inflammatory. So duration. What is the duration?
3 to 6 months.
Then number 2. Number 3.
On biopsy, skin biopsy and parenchymal biopsy.
Skin biopsy would demonstrate dermal lymphatics. Then number 4.
And
What is the striking difference between a locally advanced and a inflammatory? No definitive mass felt or seen. The entire breast is replaced by a edematous lump, and many times definitive mass may not be felt.
Yes.
Right? Rapid onset of erythema. There are 5 parameters, and at least 4 should be there as per the international. In inflammatory breast cancer, is skin biopsy demonstrating lymphatic involvement mandatory?
no, sir, it is not diagnostic. Or
In PD orange, is it mandatory to say it is PD orange to develop skin biopsy? There is skin biopsy compulsory. Do you do skin biopsy?
yes, sir. For inflammatory, we will do skin biopsies.
Okay, proceed. Next.
Is it important to have dermal infiltration? Can you diagnose without dermal infiltration?
Yeah. Yes, sir. It can be. It is not necessary for diagnosis of inflammatory breast carcinoma.
Yeah, it may be there. Even with dermal infiltration, it may not be inflammatory carcinoma also.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. Palpation.
There is a 1 into 1 centimeter hard lump.
In inspection, you didn't see any visible lumps in the axilla or supraclavicular, right? Did you see anything?
Yes, no, sir. I didn't see any other obvious fullness or lump.
What one did you see? Can you tell me again? No fullness.
No fullness in the breast or any lumps in the supraclavicular fossa or neck or in the axilla.
What is the difference between a lump and mass?
Breast
You
will
understand this point?
talk.
Mass in abdomen, we don't call lump in abdomen. Lump in a breast, why not mass in a breast? You told lump in supraclavicular axilla. So what is the difference between a lump and a mass? Have you ever, abdomen, what do you call?
Mass.
So why not you call a lump then? There must be some difference, right, in oncology? So what is the difference between lump and mass? You didn't think of it? You never thought of it? Mass in abdomen, major case. Lump in a breast, major case. Neck, what do you call? Mass or lump? Thyroid. Lump in a neck, mass in a neck.
Mass.
Mass in a neck.
Not the.
I wish there were some of other students, so you don't take a bunt. I would really next time recommend to Rexina put 2 people so they get breathing space and 2 people can actually complement each other and answer better. I want to tell all the students Chaitanya is doing outstandingly. Just because we are grilling doesn't mean, okay? He's withstanding the pressure of all of us very well. I wish all of you are there with him and you would have probably not performed so well. So Chaitanya doing well. So it's very important what is lump and mass. Why we call mass in abdomen, not lump, and neck, what would you call? Throat, what do you call? Lump in a throat, mass in a throat. Hot potato voice in a base tongue and epiglottisma. What is that called? Mass or lump? Okay, read about it. You understand there is a lot of difference between lump and mass, where what you use. If you don't get, next class will teach you. Huh?
No.
Okay, fine, go ahead.
There is 1 into 1 centimeter hard lump felt in the right lower inner quadrant at 4 o'clock position. It is fixed to breast tissue and not fixed to the pectoral muscle or chest wall. It is hard, but
What is the first thing before starting the palpation in palpation you would like to do?
all inspectory findings.
Okay, all inspectory finding confirmed except before that. There are two most important things in
Tenderness
examination in surgery. First you would do before doing anything else in palpation. And what is that and why that should be checked first?
and warmth and tenderness.
Local, because once you manipulate, local rise of temperature will happen, you can't come back. Then what is the second thing you would comment before starting telling I have a lump and mass or anything?
Temperature and
Local, what is the second thing? Yes, Chaitanya. Tell me.
temperature and tenderness.
Good. Why that is important? To know the level of sensitivity and tenderness. Why is it important?
For facilitating further examination, how we have to.
So you will know how gentle you have to be and what to carry. So please don't miss that. I know that we have finished MBBS, we finished MSc at MCH, but palpation would definitely has to start with these two first and then go to other point. Okay, don't miss that. Okay. So I presume you examined and you didn't find any local rise of temperature and you found that patient is relatively comfortable for superficial examination unless deeply you poke. So then you modified your pressure of the palm in palpating, right? So I presume you did all this and now you are coming with the findings. Please tell me.
Except that no other lumps felt in right breast, right arm and axilla examination, there is no palpable axillary nodes. And right breast, arm and axilla are normal. Bilateral supraclavicular fossa are normal.
Okay, now we'll come to lump. Please define, tell more about this lump.
I just felt 1 into 1 centimeter hard lump, but borders are ill-defined, which was in.
What does it say? Borders are
It was not defined. I'm not able to feel.
It is intermingling with the surrounding normal breast tissue when you palpate. Okay, then.
And it was not fixed to any other structure. It is fixed to only breast tissue.
So there is intraparenchymal fixity.
And
Intraparenchymal fixity within the breast tissue. Okay, done. Next.
it is not fixed to any other pectoral muscles or chest wall. And it is
As per HSCC, what is T4A and T4B?
T4A is chest wall infiltration, which includes rib, intercostal muscles, and serratus anterior.
So pectoralis muscle, fascia is not a part of it.
And T4,
Right.
yes, sir.
Pectoralis muscle and pectoral fascia is not a part of it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, remember that. That's something very important. Which HSCC is going on currently?
8, sir. AGCC 8.
Okay.
And T4B is skin involvement.
Can you say something about the skin? Skin pinchable, not pinchable. Now when you palpate, now you have, is it tethered? Not when you nothing.
Skin is pinchable and there is no tethering.
Skin over the lump and skin over the other part of the breast.
Is pinchable. Over the lump also skin is pinchable.
According to AJCC, which skin findings are called as T4?
T4B, it has 3 findings.
Yes.
One is QD orange.
Yes.
One is ulceration and the other
Yes.
one is nodules, satellite nodules.
Okay. Good. Okay. Fine. So axilla, any clinically palpable nodes?
No, sir. No other.
None of them are palpable. No supraclavicular also. Okay. Next.
On systemic examination, chest bilateral normal breath sounds equally heard. And on abdominal examination, there is no mass palpable. and no hepatomegaly and no evidence of any ascites. And on spine examination, there is no bony tenderness.
So what masses were you anticipating?
Any hepatomegaly.
Okay, liver, enlargement of the liver. Okay, then?
And any ascites and
Okay, then?
any ovarian masses.
CA ovary. CA ovary? No. What ovarian masses in breast cancer?
The Krukenberg.
Krukenberg. What is the definition of Krukenberg? Krukenberg happens in a postmenopausal lady whose ovary is atrophied and not actively menstruating.
No, sir.
What are the components of Krukenberg?
There should be active menstruating women with raw ovarian surface.
Usually young premenopausal lady, bilateral masses, overall architecture of the ovary is preserved. How much ever be the size of the mass, still they are not tethered and absence of peritoneal disease. So because CA ovary patient could be BRCA, so she could have a concomitant papillary ovarian cancer also. So how do you distinguish between Krukenberg and a primary ovarian CA being present there? What are the findings?
Ovarian mass in a postmenopausal, mostly unilateral.
Bilateral solid mass with overall architecture being preserved in spite of the massive bilateral ovarian tumor, absence of other peritoneal disease. Okay, fine. So in this patient is not have. Then what did you do after this? Spine, no tenderness, abdomen, no ascites, umbilicus normal, liver, everything is normal, no other. What else you did?
Examine for spine.
Okay, spine normal. Then?
And PVPR I'm supposed to do, but I didn't do.
Why didn't you do? You asked the patient refused to give consent, or you only decided, anyhow, I don't want to do? Did you ask the patient and patient refused? You didn't want to do? Did patient refuse the consent? No. Okay, so those two you have not done, you have not asked. Okay, done. Anything else? We are done with this? Okay, what is your diagnosis?
53-year-old postmenopausal lady with locally advanced carcinoma breast, right breast, and received NSCT on clinical examination YC-T4B M0 M0.
Clinical M0. Okay. Can you, for the benefit of people, students, please summarize your positive clinical finding?
Okay. On inspection, patient had only salient features. Patient had PUD orange and lower inner quadrant, and on palpation, she had 1 into 1 centimeter hard lump with ill-defined borders. And other than that, no other positive findings.
Painless lump in so-so quadrant of the lump of the breast, with not associated fixity to chest wall or nipple areola combination, without clinical node, painless, skin change. Can't you summarize? Be always ready for this question, okay? Run a narration in the thing. To substantiate your what you have written your clinical, give a proper narration, right? It's very, very important for you.
Can I just interrupt 1 minute? Based on your initial history,
Yes.
what would you think the stage was initially? Do you have any clue to, was it really locally advanced initially to start with?
Yes, sir. In history,
On what basis? What are your points to say it was locally advanced? Have you?
yes, sir. History, she told like she had a lump which was occupying almost the entire inner half of the breast.
Okay.
That was the
Fair enough. Okay. Did she have? You think she had nodes supraclavicular axillary at that point in time?
I asked her, sir.
Is it suggestive of any FNSC done from the axilla or from the supraclavicular region?
No, sir. No history of only the breast lump has been biopsied.
But see, chemotherapy may have been given for just downstaging for even for an early breast cancer. How do you know it was locally advanced? I'm saying.
And he is responded, and now also she is having PUD orange.
So now it may be progressive disease. How do you know it's responded? Now it's got PUD orange.
The patient told it was started gradually decreasing.
Did she have initial QD orange? You said there were no changes in the skin.
She told there was no skin changes.
Yeah.
Maybe she might not be aware of that
Okay.
orange.
We'll keep that in mind because I'm not sure we know the reason why she got NACT. Maybe did she get it only for the sake of conservation or did she get it for the sake of she was really locally advanced? Usually there'll be some history of an FNAC from the axilla or from the supraclavicular or something like that. Maybe there,
Okay.
Okay.
Was it involving the inner half only or the entire breast? Initially you told the entire breast. I think.
Yes, sir.
Only the inner half.
Mostly inner half.
Inner half only.
Only at the inframammary fold, she told it was crossing midline.
Okay.
Okay, so what's your clinical diagnosis? So carcinoma breast locally advanced, T4B, N0, M0. Okay, you are lucky. In spite of chemo, there is a PDRN, so you got escaped. Otherwise, hardly there is any lump, no nodes, so you got really escaped. And then biopsy-related changes cannot persist so long, right? What is the clinical stage of this disease?
Anatomical staging, it is 3B, sir. Anatomical staging.
Be loud, Chaitanya.
Not audible.
I am in Bangalore and you're in Trivandrum, so it's very long distance. You need to be audible.
Chaitanya, go a little closer, no, to the screen.
Yeah.
Increase the volume. Okay, what is the clinical stage grouping of this patient?
Anatomical staging, stage 3B.
Stage 3B.
Yes, sir.
T3N1 is what stage? What is LABC?
Locally advanced breast carcinoma, it constitutes operable disease T3N1 and
What is the difference between LOBC and LABC?
it's a large operable breast cancer.
That is T3N1. Okay. And then LABC. See, EBC, LOBC, LABC, MBC. Right? Early breast cancer, large operable breast cancer, T3N1, stage 3A. Then LABC, locally advanced breast cancer, operable, inoperable. Then metastatic breast cancer. Okay? So which group of LABC is inoperable at presentation?
Inflammatory breast carcinoma. It's also a locally advanced breast carcinoma.
Okay, that's outright inoperable at presentation. LABC stage 3 could be relatively operable, inoperable, depending on the size of the breast, depending on the skin environment, and depending on the luminal types, right? Okay. Now,
What is the T stage in inflammatory breast cancer?
T4D, sir.
T4D. Okay.
And also in N2 and above, you would always give chemo. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what would you do? How would you proceed in this patient?
I want to evaluate her for anesthesia fitness. And
See, remember when you say diagnosis, menopausal state, site of the breast, right, left, quadrant of the breast, extremely important. You have to tell all this and then clinical TNM. Okay? Clinical TNM. So it didn't have to be pathological TNM. Okay? What are the types of TNM you have?
anatomical staging and
Clinical, pathological, then
prognostic staging.
what is the difference between small p and capital P in HSCC TNM? Is there a difference between small p and large p?
Small p is pathological.
And what is small y, small x prefix?
Small y is post chemo, sir.
Hmm.
Small x where either lump or node cannot be assessed post surgery.
X. Okay. And what is capital C in TNM staging? You understood what I'm telling?
Yeah.
Who formed the TNM staging? Who is the father of TNM? Who coined the term TNM? Who is the first guy who did? Who is the father? Which you're an oncologist student. Everywhere TNM HSCC comes, right? Who is the father of TNM? Who did the TNM for the first time? Which year TNM started? Do you know when it started? Are you aware?
1950 that AJCC committee is formed. So 1950 or 1952.
HSCC TNM book, no? Second page. Don't read, no? Straight away going to fifth page. Perry Deox from Institute Gustave Roussy, Paris, is the guy who coined TNM for the first time. Do you know in which organ in human body TNM first was done? And then it is extended to others. Okay, read the AJCC book. You have the AJCC manual? Peritiox, please read it. Which year? 1956. Okay, what is capital C in HSCC TNM? Small y is multimodality treatment reassessing, right? What is capital C? What is C factor in TNM? C1 factor, C2 factor, C3 factor, C4 factor in TNM. See, the complete staging of TNM would be C or P, TNM, LV, PN, R factor, and C factor. That is a complete staging which HSCC is. So C factor 1 means diagnosis arrived with investigation. C2 with biopsies. C3 is what you get. See, when you operate, you get a final histopathology and you put TNM. That is C3 factor. What is C4 factor? C4 factor is post-autopsy. Please read HSCC. Okay. There are many other things. These 6 are important. Okay. So how will you proceed in this patient?
We'll wait for a duration of 3 weeks from the last chemo and we'll work up.
If this patient had come to you before anybody had seen, you are the first point of contact for physician. You are the first doctor she contacted. How would you have proceeded after this history and local examination? I know that somebody else has worked up and you have received this patient. If this patient had come to you first and you had finished your clinical examination, how would you have proceeded?
Okay. I'll proceed for staging and
how do you know it is malignancy? It could be tuberculosis breast, no? How did you know it is already? Patient came and told, I have breast showed that I have a cancer, is it? So straight away staging, because you presume that no benign conditions can happen, no tuberculosis can happen, straight it is malignancy, is it?
and to proceed with biopsy and
Why you want to do open biopsy?
no.
So what is that?
Well, Chaitanya, when a patient comes to you, initially history, clinical examination, imaging, pathological diagnosis, then you go. You can, no one will question if you say like that, no problem.
All your cases, when this question comes, after you say one clinical diagnosis, how will you proceed, they will ask. This is a double trap. The answer expected, I will confirm my diagnosis.
Okay.
Then if it is malignant, I will do workup for staging of this patient. Then I will institute appropriate management for that stage of this patient. Learn to tell these 3, you will not go wrong. You have a jaundice patient, okay, with hepatomegaly, you will start telling LFT, Scopy. The moment you say, I'll confirm my diagnosis, then I will do workup required for staging. Then I'll institute appropriate management. Okay. Then you will not start telling PET scan, ultrasound, mammogram. Then you will really know what comes first after clinical examination is a core biopsy. Then you will know, I will look for the diagnosis. Then you say what clinical stage. Okay. So this patient, core biopsy is infiltrated ductal cell carcinoma. What would you now do? How will you proceed next?
For that, may I ask, do you need a core biopsy in this case?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Why?
But
Would an FNAC suffice?
we need receptor status for planning the
Why?
They have prognostic implication and they have implication in treatment plans.
No, you said this is a locally advanced.
Yes, sir.
So you are planning something neoadjuvant.
For planning,
There you cannot go ahead with an FNAC.
yes, sir.
Always core biopsy is preferred, definitely. But if you are planning upfront surgery, you may be excused with going ahead with FNAC if you have a good pathologist and all. Always core biopsy is good. All institutes do it. But when you plan neoadjuvant therapy, core biopsy is definitely mandatory for so many reasons. Yeah.
Okay, always remember in breast lump, you say triple assessment, clinical examination, appropriate imaging, sonomemo, memo, and core biopsy. in breast cancer, you don't institute any treatment with FNAC. Okay, remember this core biopsy. Why core biopsy? Why not FNAC? Number one,
It's adequate.
if you do core biopsy, you can do receptor studies. Number one. Number two, FNAC is user dependent. Sensitivity, specificity, false negative rate is not accurate. And doing a organ ablation on FNAC medico-legally is not valid. So core biopsy standard of care. Supreme Court judgment is there. In oncology, no organ ablation surgery can be done unless there is a biopsy and not an FNAC. Remember this. Okay. What are the organ ablation surgeries in oncology?
And mastectomy is also.
One is loss of breast, mastectomy. Good. Then
Nephrectomy is.
Then laryngectomy, permanent stoma APR, amputations. Okay, so it is mandatory. That is number one. And then FNAC cannot distinguish between invasive and non-invasive. It could be ductal cell carcinoma in situ. Okay, so not user dependent. Medico-legally, you're right. So you will do core biopsy. What staging workup you would do in this patient? What staging workup is recommended for this clinical staging?
CBCT, thorax, abdomen, and pelvis.
Which guideline is this?
ESMO guidelines says for any locally advanced breast cancer, you have to.
Okay, so you do see contrast enhanced CT scan of thorax and abdomen to look at liver. Okay, then
Bone scan is needed, and LFT
PET scan.
not CECT and bone scan are sufficient.
Remember, the answer you are supposed to say in exam is as per NCCN, ASCO, ESMO for locally breast cancer, contrast enhanced CT scan, thorax, abdomen, bone scan is all that is recommended. PET scan is not recommended. Okay, why? Why not PET scan? Whole body CT is there, bone is there, everything is there. Why not PET scan? Patient says, I have no financial problem. So why not PET scan and why all like this? Why? What does the footnotes of NCCN staging workup recommend? For assessment of bone metastasis, which investigation is better, PET scan or bone scan?
Sodium fluoride PET scan and bone scan have equal sensitivity.
Fluorine PET scan is bone. So bone scan is better. What is the types of bone metastasis you get in breast cancer?
Sclerotic mets.
Huh? What are the types of bone metastasis? Lytic, sclerotic, blastic. Where do you get blastic?
Prostate will.
Prostate. Where do you get lytic?
Renal.
Lung. So breast cancer is what? Lytic or blastic?
It has both.
Both. So bone scan is superior to PET scan. Negative PET scan of bone disease is not, because PET scan is inferior for bone. That's why it is not recommended. Okay. And the false positive rate of non-regional lymph node is very high in PET scan without impact. Okay, so the answer you told is absolutely right. If this was a early breast cancer, what is the metastatic survey recommended?
Only CBC, LFT, and chest X-rays.
See again, is that CBC is metastatic survey? LFT is metastatic. So why you want to know metastatic survey required? Okay, in this patient, would you do mammogram?
Our institute.
Somshekhar, in early breast cancer, can you say that LFT, alkaline phosphatase, and chest X-ray as
yeah, they are done.
Yeah.
They are done only as a part of anesthesia and procedure, not for
alkaline phosphatase and chest? Yeah.
Yeah. So the answer, as per ASCO NCCN, is in early breast cancer,
Yeah.
no metastatic survey is recommended by three bodies. Investigation required to make a patient fit for procedure and surgery as appropriate can be done, because the yield is less than 3%. So that is the answer, students, as per NCCN, ASCO and ESMO. And locally advanced breast cancer, they need to add bone scan. CT scan was incorporated from the year 2017. Before that, it was not there. And metastatic breast cancer, only if targeted therapy and immunotherapy is planned, PET scan is recommended. So this is the answer they have to give as per NCCN, ASCO and ESMO. So the answer would be no metastatic survey specific for stage 1, stage 2 required, other than the investigation required for making the patient fit, because LFT and chest X-ray will not pick up. That's the answer, exam answer. Then we will discuss individually what to do. If you substantiate anything, then it comes. Okay. So you were telling, so in this patient, there is a metastatic survey, it is recommended. Okay. Okay. So how do you proceed in this patient? Now next, metastatic survey, no systemic metastasis.
And to proceed with
Okay, I wanted to come back to this question. Would you do mammogram in this patient?
as an institute protocol, if a patient is planned for total mastectomy, that is MRM and all, we don't do ipsilateral mammogram, we do only contralateral mammogram.
Good. So if the discussion with patient have happened, would you think of breast conservation in this patient?
No, sir.
Even if there is a complete clinical response after giving chemo, everything vanishes. Mammography done, not seen. Ultrasound, not seen. Everything goes off. Will you consider breast conservation in this patient?
I don't know whether the initial extent of the disease.
Forget everything. Now this patient you have seen, PD orange is there. Now you complete all the remaining 2-3 chemos. Everything vanishes. Clinical complete response. Imaging complete response. LABC stage 3B. T4B, N0, M0. Complete response, no lump, no skin change, PD orange vanishes, skin lesions vanish, mammogram normal, ultrasound normal. Do you consider breast conservation in this patient?
No, sir.
Very good. There are two questions, don't fall into trap. If it is an LABC like this, not LOBC, T3N1, breast conservation is not considered. Absolutely, you say, you're not going to do ipsilateral mammogram, you're not going to get any information. Remember, mammography has two different reasons. Diagnostic mammography when you don't know the biopsy. Then as a part of triple assessment, here already diagnosis done, biopsy done, you know it is stage 3B LABC, breast conservation is not accepted as an oncology student. Will not go into exceptions. So it is absolutely fine, contralateral mammogram. Why you want to do contralateral mammogram? Clinically it is normal examination. Nothing is felt. Why you want to do contralateral mammogram?
As an opportunity screening of the other breast and
what is the incidence of picking up a coincidental breast cancer in the other breast when you have one breast cancer on this side? If this patient is not BRCA, normal, and if this patient is BRCA positive, what is the incidence?
1 to 2%.
2%. Remember, there are two values you must remember. Head and neck cancer, for every year a patient survives, 4% chance of second cancer and synchronous and metachronous. In breast, it is 2%. So to pick it up. And you screen and work a baseline, you will know what to do. So this point, what you stood is absolutely right. Okay. Second, breast conservation in LABC is not accepted, don't say. Okay. Whatever be the finding. Do you know which are the two trials which were performed breast conservation in an LABC with complete response, which showed negative trial? Can you name two trials as an oncology student which address breast conservation in a LABC trial? See, what distinguishes you as an MS student presenting this breast cancer and oncology MCH DNB is you must know about these things, right? Not only what to be done, why to be done. Name the trials which address breast conservation in LABC post chemo. Do you know two trials? Okay, MD Anderson trial, TMH trial. Both of them show it should not be done. Okay, local recurrence is 20%. So we'll not go into exam is not a place for controversy. You say something, tell the evidence. Okay, so we don't do this. Okay, so invasive ductal cell carcinoma, grade 3, ER positive, PR positive, HER2 new negative, Ki67 2%. What would you do in this patient? Patient says that I don't want breast conservation. Patient has a C cup big breast, small lump, small PD orange which can be achieved negative margin. Why you want to give neoadjuvant treatment? Why don't you operate straight away? Why this patient received neoadjuvant chemo? Why didn't upfront surgery?
Maybe nodal status initially.
So you think that you're not seeing nodal status maybe as Professor Paul Augustine told if it was N2 plus it could be okay. Nice excuse you gave. Then what is that you achieve by giving neoadjuvant chemo?
There is no overall survival difference. Only
so by giving neoadjuvant chemo, there is no overall survival. You were right until 2019 November. I, as an oncologist student, used to be very happy. No trial in human history of breast cancer showed survival benefit. But now you have two trials which showed survival benefit of using neoadjuvant chemo. Can you tell me in which condition, which are those two trials?
Dose dense chemo.
Pardon? No. Dose dense chemo, all negative trials. No, don't get confused. Chemo given before surgery or after, as long as full treatment is done, no overall survival benefit. theoretical benefit of neoadjuvant chemo was downsizing, inoperable becoming operable,
And
primary closure possible to achieve, in vivo vitro chemo sensitivity without impact on overall survival, patient performance status improves so you can operate later. So all these are, and chemo sensitivity, which chemo acts, which chemo doesn't act, all are, and addressing the micrometastasis, they're all theoretical. Okay, you understand that? So, but now since 2019, 2 trials showed neoadjuvant chemo strategy in a operable breast cancer has a survival impact. Can you tell those 2 trials in which condition it is?
TNBC, pembrolizumab.
In TNBC, if you give neoadjuvant chemo and operate, pathological complete response, that is RCB score 3, residual cancer burden 3, what would you give if it has not achieved pathological CR? See, if all neoadjuvant chemo is over, there is no role of any more chemo after surgery. But there is one trial which showed that if you cannot achieve pathological CR, you give something, so there is a survival benefit. What is that medicine and what is the trial?
Viatex trial, capecitabine 6 to 8 cycles.
Good, very good. That's one condition. What are the other trial of neoadjuvant showed survival benefit? Which subset?
The same TNBC, SYC.
TNBC is over. Next.
um,
HER2 new positive patient, what would you do along with chemo?
Targeted therapy.
Anti-HER2 new therapy. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what is the trial which showed that you give trastuzumab, patient didn't achieve pathological complete response, then you don't give trastuzumab, but you go to
Intensive.
PDM1. So what is the trial called?
Gathering.
Good, very good. Trial. That showed survival. So that's the reason. So what are the absolute indication of neoadjuvant chemo in an operable breast cancer? You understood the question? So what are the absolute indications?
Bad biology. TNBC and HER2.
TNBC and HER2 new positive if the size is more than 1 centimeter and with an intention of breast conservation. Okay. Are you aware which is a trial which showed in premenopausal woman neoadjuvant chemo? It makes it amenable for breast cancer. In postmenopausal woman, which landmark trial? If you know, you answer, otherwise we'll not waste time on that. NSABP 16 showed in premenopausal woman not otherwise possible to do breast conservation. Neoadjuvant chemo makes possible without change in the overall survival. NSABP 18 showed in postmenopausal. Okay, please read. Certain things you must remember this. What is NSABP means? Expand NSABP.
National Surgical
Good. Adjuvant
Bowel
and breast.
Breast and all. Yeah.
So one is it is there in breast. Where else do you have NSABP trial?
colon.
Colorectal. Good. Okay. So in this patient now they have given neoadjuvant chemo.
Yes, sir.
When would you assess the patient for response and how would you assess the response in this patient?
Clinically, after every chemo, you can assess.
Ideally after every chemo, definitely. When is the maximum response comes?
After second chemo.
After second chemo response starts coming, it peaks at 3. Okay, good. So every cycle you examine. Then do you do any calipers measurement, ultrasound or anything like that, or just clinical is enough? Assessment of response.
We do only clinical examination.
You would not want to do ultrasound of this patient.
Really, we don't do only this progressive.
Do you know what is the name of the calipers you use to measure the breast response?
Vernier calipers. Has to.
So vernier calipers is one. Also, you use an ultrasound at the end of second, third row. When would you operate this patient? You would want your medical oncologist to give all the chemo in this patient and operate, or you would say, I will give 3 sandwich and I will operate. When would you operate?
All chemo heads.
All chemo?
Head.
So what is the evidence for that?
In
You
NSABP,
understand my answer? Sandwich therapy versus synchronous. All chemo and then operate. 3 chemo operate and then 3 chemo.
yeah.
So what is, why? Is it superior operating after chemo or before chemo?
Better tolerability if in the neoadjuvant setting.
Good, better tolerability. There is no break in the treatment. So you complete all the chemo, then wound related. So you don't have to operate, then delay because of other, number one. Then what is the other advantage?
Compliance also will be good.
Okay, then
Mm,
you don't want to know the pathological complete response, which gives pathological. Do you know which are the trial which compared synchronous versus sandwich therapy? Complete all chemo and operate versus sandwich therapy. Do you know which are the two trials? NSABP B27 and GeoPAR trial showed they didn't show survival benefit. Okay. So suppose this patient was luminal A type, ERPR positive, HER2 negative, Ki67 5%. What neoadjuvant treatment would you use in this patient?
Anthracycline based chemo. Anthracycline vaccine.
Does luminal A respond to chemo for downsizing? Classify the based on molecular pathology. How do you classify breast cancer?
Luminal type, HER2 enriched, and basal like.
That's all. No luminal B, no TNBC.
Luminal type, there is luminal A and luminal B.
Okay. What distinguishes A and B?
A and B, progesterone level, progesterone receptor status greater than and less than.
Back again, speak loudly. So progesterone level
And K, proliferative factors. K is 60.
K67, MIB index. What value of K67 is high and makes it luminal B?
Greater than 14.
So luminal A, does they respond to chemo? Do you downsize them with chemo or something else?
Neoadjuvant hormonal therapy also can be given.
In luminal A, that is preferred in a postmenopausal lady, right? So what is the trial which showed you have to use neoadjuvant letrozole in luminal A, LABC to downsize? Do you know the trial? Okay, what is the response rate with the chemo in an LABC you expect? How many of them you think will downsize and you'll be able to operate? How many will progress? How many will be stable? What is the standard response rates in the chemo?
Around 15% will respond in luminal types will respond.
Okay. In LABC, what is the response rate? Only 15, 1.5.
Hormone receptor positive.
So I leave luminal A. Leave luminal A. All other type, in general in LABC, neoadjuvant chemo, which this patient received. This patient told she found lump has come down. You also tell 1 centimeter. No nodes are felt by you. So this patient definitely has responded. Is it a surprise or it is a norm in LABC? What are the typical response rates in an LABC for chemo alone in general?
Complete clinical response is seen in around 50 to 60%.
Good, very good. But true pathological response?
It is seen in 25 to 30%.
Less than 13%. What is the response if this patient is HER2 positive and you give trastuzumab along with chemo?
They will have more than 40% response.
70% response. You only already told chemo alone 60 you are telling and HER2 you are putting back to 40. Okay. So PROACT is the trial which showed in luminal A, letrozole downsizes and the response rate is 60%. Okay. So now you think this patient is the right time to operate?
We have to wait for 3 weeks and then.
Why you want to wait for 3 weeks? Why not 1 week, 2 weeks? Where did the 3 weeks come from? Why?
Around 10th day, there will be a delayed fall in.
So bone marrow suppression sets in at 2nd week and recovers in 3rd week. Is it blanket 3 weeks for all the patient or it is based on the chemo also? If a patient has completed 4 AC as you told me so nicely, sir, 4 chemo, 15 days, weekly PACLI if the patient is taking, should you have to wait 3 weeks?
2 weeks is enough.
So you wait typically based on the chemo for bone marrow recovery to happen. Then you operate. Okay. What is the type of surgery you would do for this patient?
Modified radical mastectomy I want to do.
So you don't want to do sentinel lymph node. If this patient was clinically N0, ultrasound axilla was N0, patient came to you first, you analyzed it. Would you do a sentinel node in this patient?
E4B, I don't want to do.
Pardon? You want to do N0?
No, I don't want to do.
Very good. LABC you would not want to do, right? Why you don't want to do in an LABC sentinel node even though axilla is negative?
There is a high chance of recurrence.
No. Don't confuse recurrence. First of all, what is the importance of sentinel lymph node? What is the important marker in sentinel node other than sensitivity? False negative rate, right?
Detection rate.
Good. In an early breast cancer, stage 1, stage 2, clinically N0, what is the false negative rate in all the sentinel node trials and acceptable?
Less than 10%.
Wow, 10% if you do, we'll all get hanged. Which is the largest trial of NSABP which made sentinel lymph node in early breast cancer level 1? 3,652 patients on either arm.
32, sir. 32. NSABP.
Good, very good. So what was the false negative rate in that?
Less than 10%.
What is the ASCO definition to do SLNB? Do you know what is the ASCO criteria for SLNB? Early breast cancer, tumor less than 5 centimeter, clinically and radiologically N0 axilla, availability of dual technique, blue dye with this together, and a validation trial of false negative rate less than 5%. Please read this. It's a ASCO guideline. It is written in NCC and ASCO everywhere. False negative rate is less than 5% in early breast cancer. That is acceptable. What is the false negative rate in LABC? More than 10%. That's why it is not recommended. 10% is very, very high, isn't it? Can you name 2 trials in sentinel node in LABC?
Akasab, Sentina.
Yes, very good. Sentina, then? And NSABP trial. So, Sentina was done before or after?
Sentina had 4 arms, sir, of which.
The sentinel node can be done before chemo or after chemo, right? So, which trial is before and after?
Sentina trial.
Both of them showed false negative. So, it is not level 1 evidence in LABC. Remember, okay? Don't confuse T3N0, M0. Bulky tumor, but not LABC. Okay, so you would not do in this patient. Very good. What is the level of axillary clearance you would do? Level 1, 2, and come out because N0 or level 3, or what is the plan? What is the plan?
If there are any significant loads in level 2 and level 3, I will go to clear level 1, 2, 3.
Is that the teaching in LABC? That's what Devita says. In an LABC, this patient, T4BN plus M0 post neoadjuvant chemo, you will leave level 3. Is that the answer you want to give in this patient? See, don't confuse level of axillary clearance as a staging in a early breast cancer when no nodes in level 1, level 2. Don't confuse that with a therapeutic axillary clearance. Okay, in an exam, this is not a staging axilla. It's a therapeutic axillary clearance. You are supposed to say level 1, 2, 3 in LABC. Okay, don't fall into this trap. If you don't have sentinel node in an early breast cancer, stage 1, stage 2, you are doing axillary clearance to stage the axilla. Then level 1, level 2, no microscopic disease. As an institute protocol, level 3 to avoid lymphedema can be done, but not in this. You do what you want later institution, but you have to say level 1, 2, 3 clearance. Okay. Infraclavicular node, as per AJCC, is what level of node? Actually.
Level 3A, sir.
Huh?
3A.
Good. Positive axillary node, positive internal memory. What stage it is? Positive internal memory, negative axillary node, what stage it is. This is one stage, this and oral cancer. You must know in and out of it, okay? You understood my question? Axilla positive, internal memory positive, what stage it is? Axilla negative, internal memory positive, what stage it is?
2B, sir. 2B only internal memory is positive, axilla negative. 3B, it is both positive.
Supraclavicular node positive?
3C.
Is it palliative? What is the intention of treatment in LABC? Palliative or curative?
Curative intent, sir.
Good, very good. Okay, so you have done a modified radical mastectomy.
Chaitanya, when you're asked internal memory and axillary positive, you should ask how the internal memory is positive. Depending on how the internal memory is positive, it can change. Whether it is through sentinel node, whether it is through... When you read up the AJCC, you will know, because internal memory node positivity can be different depending on how it becomes positive. Sentinel node positivity, imaging positivity, otherwise. Okay.
Exactly. That question was asked because clinical internal memory by imaging, pathological internal memory. If pathologically positive, it is 3, N3. If it is clinical, it still sits at N2. I didn't want to complicate. Go back and read. That's very, very important.
Yeah.
Positive by sentinel node, positive by clinical, positive by pathological biopsy. Both stages are different. Okay. So LABC, intention of treatment is curative. Supraclavicular node is not palliative, not stage 4, right? So you operated this patient, all nodes negative. Okay. Patient has RCB score 2. What would you do now? What is RCB score?
Residual cancer burden.
Good. Residual cancer burden. Good. So RCB 2. So patient has completed all the chemo. They say that 9 millimeter of invasive component is there, all node negative. Okay, patient wound has healed. Now how would you proceed?
And adjuvant RT is needed for this.
Just before that, can I just ask one question? What are the different techniques people have used to assess response, pathological response? Means pathological response, the pathologists, when they classify it, just as you said, RCB scores, what are the other scoring systems that you have available, which people have used to classify a good response or a poor response or a bad response?
No idea.
See, what is pathological response? You know what Vijay Kumar asking? Primary tumor vanishes, microscopic node positive. You understand? No disease in primary abdomen, pathological complete response, node complete response, primary tumor as DCIS. You understood? There are three clinical scenarios. Primary tumor, pathological node disease, small entrapped microscopic cells in node. Second scenario, no disease, invasive disease in primary and this, but some DCIS component left. Which is PCR in that, as per the current definition?
Both invasive and in situ component has to respond to call it as PCR.
Does in situ component respond to chemo? Does in situ component go? Okay. So in this patient, RCB score 1, no negative. What would you do next?
Adjuvant RT.
You don't want to give adjuvant chemo? If patient was triple negative, you don't want to give oral capecitabine?
That is also after RT only.
So you would want to give RT first. Okay. So what is the, how much RT would you give? How would you give? And where all you would give? So this patient axillary clearance, 4 nodes positive. Okay. Residual disease of 9 millimeter invasive. All margins clear. You have done level 1, level 2, 3 clearance. Now, please tell something about adjuvant radiation in this patient.
I want to give 40 gray in 15 fractions.
What is that called?
40 gray in 15 fractions.
What is that? What type of RT is that?
Hypofractionation.
Hypofractionated. Then conventional, long course. Then hyperfractionated is there? Short is there?
Yeah, short is
In
there.
hypofractionated 2 weeks RT in a mastectomy accepted? Yes or no?
No.
If yes, which trial? No. Can you name a hypofractionated randomized control trial which showed post mastectomy both are same? You understood my question. Old time, what was the conventional RT? 5040. 5040 RT. Okay, for 5 weeks.
25 fraction in 25 gray.
So that was the 5040 RT over 25 fraction, which would go Saturday, Sunday is off. So 5 weeks. Versus hypofractionated 2 weeks, which is the trial which showed both are same. As far as the local regional control is same. Don't confuse breast conservation. Okay, I'm not asking breast conservation in mastectomy. In this patient, we have done mastectomy. Can you name the trial which showed both are same? Which randomized control trial showed? 3 randomized control trials are there.
Start A, start B.
Then are they Canadian trial or UK trial?
UK only.
So they showed it is both are same absolutely. What about toxicity? Skin change, skin burning, is it same in both?
In hypofractionated, it is less.
Cosmetic outcome in breast conservation, skin changes are less without impact on local. Okay. So adjuvant RT is given to chest wall.
Yes, sir.
Plus where else you give?
In node positive disease, we include supraclavicular fossa also.
Axilla?
Axilla, if it is inadequately staged only, we will.
Internal memory?
Probably if imaging is positive only, we'll go for.
Very good. So adjuvant RT is in a completely axillary stage clearance done. You don't give RT to the axilla, okay, to the chest wall. Supraclavicular if it is a nodal positive axilla. Internal memory is not a level 1 evidence, only external circums if there is a documented you do it, right? That's very, very important to understand this point so that you can you name one trial which showed extended field RT has a survival benefit. You understood my question? What you told is absolutely right. Chest wall, supraclavicular, if not, nothing else. Internal memory, axilla is not a standard of care. Can you name one trial which disproved this? Extended field RT.
MA20, sir, radionodal.
Good, MA20, fantastic. Which is the other trial?
VORTC trial is there.
What is Amaros trial?
Moros trial, in a positive sentinel node, you can avoid anxiety.
MA20 is UK trial, US trial, Canadian trial.
Donors.
Canadian trial. Okay, these two trial, but they're not level 1 evidence. It's extreme. Okay, patient completed radiation. So now what would you do? ER positive, HER2 negative, PR positive. So completed all the chemo. RT is over. Now what would you do? If this patient says, I want reconstruction, would you offer breast reconstruction in LABC in mastectomy? This lady says, I just want a breast reconstruction, LABC. Patient going for radiation. Would you offer it? Not offer it.
Autologous tissue reconstruction can be offered at the same sitting.
Good. So same side is not contraindicated, knowing very well the cosmesis outcome will suffer if radiation is gone, but not contraindicated. Okay, so this patient told I don't want, so mastectomy done, external process she is wearing, chemo, radiation, everything completed. Now what would you do?
Adjuvant hormonal therapy has to be.
Okay. What is the current standard of adjuvant hormone therapy for this patient you would offer?
Postmenopausal aromatase inhibitors.
Why? Why not tamoxifen?
Tamoxifen can be given, but aromatase inhibitors are more effective than.
In what way? Survival is better?
Survival and recurrence also, both.
Which trial showed aromatase inhibitor gives survival benefit over tamoxifen in postmenopausal? Name the trials. Can you name 3 trials of aromatase inhibitor? Which trial was done for letrozole? Which trial was done for anastrozole? Which was done for exemestane?
Ideal.
Yes, good. That is for exemestane. That is a switchover therapy. Okay. Then, which is the landmark trial which completed 10 years of aromatase inhibitor anastrozole?
Anastrozole, no idea.
Main trial, you can't take. What is attack trial?
No.
Attack is for this. Which is the trial which is in letrozole?
No.
Any of the trials, did they show there is a survival benefit by using aromatase inhibitor to tamoxifen?
Yes, sir. There is 5 years.
Not a single trial till to date which showed overall survival benefit. Remember this, okay? There are 2 things in oncology you must remember. Breast cancer, no aromatase inhibitor trial has shown survival, only DFS. Okay? It is very important to tailor make toxicity for that given patient. So you may have a 80-year-old lady who is prone for fracture. So remember, no overall survival. Second, no rectal cancer trial has shown overall survival benefit with radiation. You understood this? No trial has shown survival benefit with neoadjuvant chemo and head and neck except nasopharynx. Okay, remember these 3 landmarks. They're all written in DaVita 1. Many times we misnomer. Because of DFS, if there is no contraindication, you would give. What aromatase inhibitor you want to give to this patient and how long do you want to give it?
Letrozole 2.5 mg OD.
Why not anastrozole? Why you like it? Huh? Your friend has that letrozole company.
No, here the protocol.
Is there any scientific reason in selecting these 2? All these 3?
Letrozole is cheap, I think.
In India, you get everything for 1 rupee. All are, original brand, all are same. So is it just cost or any other reason? Can you tell me which aromatase inhibitor has cardiotoxicity? More. Letrozole has more cardiotoxicity. You will weigh the patient's cardiac condition, then you would not give that. Okay? Okay. Which is the only non-steroidal aromatase inhibitor?
Exemestane.
Good. Very good. What is the difference between exemestane and exemestane? Extramustine. Extramustine is a drug used in prostatic cancer. Okay. So 5 years, 10 years.
10 year can be given.
But no, if you say you have to tell what is the current evidence.
10 years.
Which trial showed 10 years is better than 5 years?
Recent.
This is a very, very basic. Okay, there are 2 trials which showed extended hormone therapy is better. Now current recommendation is 7 years, but that is only in high risk node positive, not in a node negative. Okay. When you put the patient on aromatase inhibitor, you gave a prescription, patient completed the order treatment, she's going home, she came with a sweet box to you to thank you for making her all right. What are the advice you give before she is leaving?
She needs zoledronic acid, bisphosphonate,
When every month?
2 to 3 months.
Is that a current guideline?
We have to see density.
Every 6 months. Number one. Then what are the so why you want to give? What are the aromatase problem or toxicity of aromatase inhibitors?
Bone resorption will be there.
Yes, osteoporosis, bone resorption. Number one. Then number two, arthralgia, myalgia. Patients stop because of that. Highest with exemestane. Okay. So these are the things which you must keep in mind. Zoledronic acid 6 monthly. Then what is the follow-up protocol for the patient? Does a breast cancer patient who has completed curative treatment need follow-up?
Yes, sir. They need.
Why?
They have recurrences, more recurrences.
To identify the recurrences, to look for the toxicity of the treatment you have given, to look for second primary breast cancer in the other side, and to look for ovary and uterus treatment related. Okay, what are the side effects of tamoxifen?
Cardiovascular events.
Good, thromboembolic phenomenon, migraine, angina. Then
They have uterine carcinomas.
what is the incidence as per EBCTG group? As per EBCTG trial, what is the incidence of endometrial cancer because of tamoxifen? Patient will ask, doctor, I'm afraid, what is the chance I may get endometrial cancer?
For 10 years, also it is shown only 2 to 3%.
Is it percent? It is 0.2%, 1 in 2 in 1,000. Okay, and it is all type 1, which is highly curable. That's why you would do. Okay. So, what is the follow protocol for a breast cancer?
Every 3 monthly for first 2 years with a biannual mammogram.
Biannual. Where did you manufacture this in a mastectomy? Is that is the recommendation?
Our institute will
This
be
is what NCCN and ASCO says, biannual mammogram. 3 monthly clinical examination, annual mammogram, annual pelvic examination if the patient is premenopausal or if the patient is on tamoxifen. Then anything else you would do? PET scan, CT scan, ultrasound liver,
only if symptomatic we will do.
only symptomatic you do. Before you give zoledronic acid, what are the precautions you take? What are the 2 important side effects of zoledronic acid, bisphosphonates?
This creatine clearance we have to check. If it's less than
Then that's all.
2
2 most important thing you will do before a patient is started on zoledronic acid. I will give a hint. I want you to send that patient to dental department and come back. Why?
abscess.
Osteoidonecrosis is a very serious problem in zoledronic acid. Okay. So if the patient develops osteoidonecrosis, but you don't want to stop aromatase inhibitor, what is the alternative for zoledronic acid in a breast cancer patient?
Rankel denosumab.
Very good. I'm not going to ask you which is the randomized control trial compared denosumab with zoledronic acid in adjuvant breast cancer. Okay, read about it. The randomized control trial showed, as far as the toxicity is concerned, denosumab is better. Okay, but the outcome is concerned for bone metastasis. Denosumab is inferior, zoledronic acid better, but the side effects are less. Okay, so this patient responded for chemo, so you operated. You gave full proper chemo, 4-AC weekly Paclitaxel. This patient progresses on neoadjuvant chemo in an LABC. What would have been the option for you then? You understood my point? It was not resectable, so you wanted to downsize. You gave chemo. Patient completed chemo but progressed. Now what would you do?
Neoadjuvant RT is an option.
So do you know which is the trial? Neoadjuvant RT and then you operate?
Don't know.
It is called Skinner's trial. Weekly Paclitaxel with neoadjuvant RT had 40% response even when patient didn't respond to NSAID. Okay, that's a good answer. Very, very good. So what is the chance of breast cancer in the other breast in follow-up?
For every year she will have increased risk of 4 to 5%.
2% per year if she is not BRCA positive. Okay, good. That's good. No, I'll not grill you anything. I will leave to Paul Augustine and Vijay Kumar.
You're very comprehensive, Som. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
good questions.
This is the only opportunity. Like general surgeon, hernia, you fail if you do everything you have to answer to pass. This is one case, right? I've taken exam for more than 130 students. They fail, unfortunately, in this. They think they fail in soft tissue, bone, CS cervix. They don't fall breast. So everything they must know. So I thought that if they record and keep it, at least they know where are the traps. So let them.
This is good because anyone can go in and hear this again and they will be good knowledge. Yeah.
If I come and the examiner, this is what I always ask. But I'll not fail because you don't answer.
Yeah. These are all. Yeah.
Okay, good. Chaitanya, you have been outstanding. You did really well. I don't think if I was a student, I would have performed so well. Very nice. You are bold and you didn't change your stance when I pushed you. That's a very good sign. Okay. And when you don't know, remember, you just say, sir, I don't know. Politely ask to go to next. Don't waste your time. Examiner never likes a student who is blank, wonderstruck, not answering. Unfortunately, silence is perceived as not knowing and no knowledge. So you just politely tell. Nobody will fail for one. You don't know one path, don't worry. You just say, sorry, sir, I'm not able to recollect this particular thing. It is appreciated. We go to next. So don't drag on there and don't maintain silence. Speak something you don't know. You just say, sir, this I'm not able to recollect. Or you say, I don't know. Oh, fine. Move on to next. And if certain basic things you stand up, like you say, I will not do PET, please stand up. You say, I'll not do memo if mastectomy, those things don't change, okay? So that you did very well, extremely well. This is a tough case and we all grilled you nicely and I'm extremely happy. Second thing in breast is you must know what is prognostic marker and predictive marker. Please read about it. It is there in HSCC, okay? Good, very good. You did extremely well in a tough case. All the best for your exams. If you have any question or if Vijay Kumar and Professor Paul has to add anything, the way you presented everything, you did well, you collected well, but somehow summary was not good. Please try to summarize. I know that you know it. Mentally get it ready. When you walk in as an examiner, keep a summary and sometimes you just summarize it. No, it's very pleasant. Take my word. It avoids a lot of unwanted problem. 90% of students fail before discussion. MCS should have started with, but most of the time in dragging only it happens. Okay. You did well. Took the case well, presented well, summary you didn't do well, a little bit examination you could have elaborated. I know you knew it, you didn't do. Discussion you did outstandingly well. You're fine. I'm happy. We are happy if you have anything to ask to any of us.
Rexina, I think Rexina is waiting for anything from the chat room which anyone wants to know anything or?
Rexina had warned me not more than 1 hour, sir, and maximum 130.
Yes.
For 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
So somebody just wanted to know whether PVPR are compulsory in all breast cases.
They are compulsory. You tell the patient, I'm supposed to know, and patient says, I refuse. The best answer is in breast cancer, definitely, abdominal case, definitely, rectal. So you must say, sir, I wanted to perform PV and PR, and patient didn't give the consent. Matter is over. Nobody will take, but you have to come in. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Especially if the patient is premenopausal, and there could be hereditary family. You say that mother had something, then there could be a ovarian pathology. You must say yes, but the best way is to say I wanted to do, patient didn't give a consent, it's fine. And in head and neck, if you say I didn't perform an ideal, they're not going to pass.
Is BCS contraindicated in N2 disease?
No.
Someone has asked the question now.
Nodal status is not a contraindication. Only T4 is contraindication. There are 2 trials. MD Anderson trial, the local recurrence was 21%. And then TMX trial, even when you have a pathological CR. So there are 2 trials. N status is not a contraindication. BRCA1, BRCA2 is not a contraindication for BCT. Remember this. Most of the people think BRCA means bilateral double mastectomy. No contraindication. There is a trial which showed no absolute survival benefit less than 1% at 10 years with double mastectomy. So it is not a contraindication.
So any role for
I think that-
clavicular nodal dissection?
No. The answer that should be given is supraclavicular node, if it was present before initiation of multimodality treatment, completed, you biopsy that to prove pathological CR. The answer should never be supraclavicular node dissection. Whatever surgery you do, and supraclavicular node biopsy of that site to prove pathological CR, because then you can change the plan if it is triple negative. So the answer could be that if in imaging at the completion of it, if it was there, you biopsy it. Don't use the term dissection. There is no role of dissection there.
Okay. That's the questions that we got.
Actually, 99 questions are there. I'll not be, but if Rexina has kept a view on that, if things have covered and relevant, I'll answer if you want.
And most of them, like other PTs are answering the questions here and there. It's more of a chat discussion. These are a few questions which were unanswered.
That's good. That's nice. See,
Also would like to say
in exam, just be calm. It is nobody, no examiner is coming to fail you. You just don't dig your grave and don't too much. Exam is not a place for too much brownie points. It is an approach basic. Most of the students try to outsmart and that's why they dig their own grave. Just see, if you don't know something, suppose you go and suddenly there is one fungating bone tumor in the limb in a child that has come. You just close your eyes, think that tomorrow I am with Vijay, Paul sir, with me or anybody. What would you do in an outpatient normal clinic in a hospital? Just say examination, gate, local, core biopsy, grading you. Just to follow that, take my word, you'll not fail. If you're in an enchanted territory, just think in 3 years in your institution too, because everywhere in India, all cancer center, you would do what is very close to scientifically right and you would not fail. So don't try to read theory, if you don't know, don't try to put theory thing. Just follow what has been done by you by 3, you're rarely wrong. And when tough questions are asked, that is not to make or break or fail. They just want to know where you are. They're not going to make you pass. Passing is in the basics and approach.
it's a Paul sir, you'd like to say something.
No, it was very good, I think. Thank you so much, Dr. Somsekhar, for taking over and asking all the relevant questions. We think we'll have further more. Rexina will arrange those things, I think. Everyone will benefit. The students will benefit, everything. And as always, Vijay sir, thank you for being there with us always.
No,
Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you, because my students are also learning.
Yeah.
My honor and pleasure.
And it's great that Rexina has been doing this for quite some time. All congrats to her for coordinating and doing it. And Chaitanya, thank you for being so good. Kept our...
No, good. I'm very...
Yeah.
He withstood, full Bahubali attack and he didn't blink.
Yeah. Good for us also. Good. Yeah.
He's a mild-mannered PG. But then he actually withstood the storm.